Oh, waiver wired. We're wavered. We're wired, baby. We're wired. This is a lot of questions on social media. Am I going to take the L? I'm going to take the L on Puka Nacua. The who shall not be named, though I just named him, Puka Nacua. And yeah, it was it was close there. It was so close. I was so close taking the L. I was so close. God, you should have put 50% of your FAAB down on Puka after week 1. Waiver wired advice is wrong. You shouldn't be focused on running backs. You need to get these receivers that come available on the waiver wire. Rookies from the 6th round on bad teams. You need these guys. This is where you need to put your money. This is where the FAAB budget needs to be devoted to. This is where you need to put your priority claims. These guys. It was for a 24-hour period. I was like, man, I really should. I should definitely take the L. I'm taking it. I'm about to take it. I'm right on the L's coming. Oh, the L's coming. The L's on its way. And then a funny thing happened. A guy who's going to be way more valuable than Puke Nacua suddenly became available on the waiver wire. A guy who's just sitting there, unrostered in most leagues, and he's going to crush any receiver that was picked up on the waiver wire this year. And that's Jerome Ford. So it was like 24 hours, like, oh, the Podfather, he's going to take the L. He's finished. He's dust. And then, oh, damn it, he's back. He told us to save our money for a real bell cow who would come available at some point. This has been the advice every single year, not to overspend on receivers on the waiver wire. That's the process. And that's because you want to hold it back. And then when the moment comes, assuming you already drafted Roschon Johnson, right? Didn't have to, bid big on him. Suddenly you're looking up and going, oh, wow, this is when we strike. This is why we're here. Jerome Ford is why we're here. I already have Jerome Ford in a lot of leagues, especially the Scott Fish Bowl. Hilarious Scott Fish Bowl team. Last place in the Scott Fish Bowl. Typically, at least winning or making it through the initial league into the playoff structure. This year not looking as good, and has nothing to do with anyone except my quarterbacks and my receiver. My top picks of Deshaun Watson, Jamar Chase. So Jamar Chase turns out not to be a big fantasy point scorer. So yeah, I didn't see that coming. I didn't see Jamar Chase, George Kittle in a tight end super premium league taking me down. But the quarterbacks, more understandable, right? When your quarterbacks are Deshaun Watson and Kenneth Pickett Sr., you're in trouble. And Deshaun Watson is in trouble. I don't know what the hell happened to him, but he's not the same guy he was at Clemson, not the same guy he was in Houston. Turns out that those receivers he had in Houston were carrying him. That's my conclusion, was that when you have Hopkins and Will Fuller in his prime, even though you have, well below average arm strength, they will make you look elite, especially in a dome condition, in a dome environment where you can feather those deep balls into Will Fuller. DeAndre Hopkins will bail you out, right? Just like he's helping to bail out Ryan Tannehill at times already this year. Ryan Tannehill's unbail-outable, but Hopkins is doing it. And that offensive line, those receivers made Deshaun Watson look good and better than he was. And so the supporting cast fooled us in Houston. That's the other conclusion, the other theory is that, well, his whole skill set has degraded, right? Or that he's internally remorseful for his behavior, and he can't get over it, and it's mentally suppressing his confidence in his ability to execute. I just don't believe that's the case. I believe that he's probably the same guy he was. He just looked a lot better in a different environment. This is not a good environment for him. It's been bad weather. It's outside. The receivers aren't nearly the same caliber as he had in Houston, and I think that's a part of it. That said, the offensive line's good. I think that they're good enough, right? The Browns are good enough to sustain drives and provide Jerome Ford with the requisite red zone visits and receptions to make him a true sort of RB1 caliber running back in fantasy. It helps that a lot of other running backs like Saquon Barkley and David Montgomery and Austin Eckler are missing games, right? It helps that many players, many running backs specifically, have been missing games, have been getting injured, sadly. So all the more reason to go out and spend up on Jerome Ford. You've probably lost a running back by now, and you really need the help. And this is why we're here. This, Jerome Ford. And I'm not worried, in case you were wondering, I'm not worried about Kareem Hunt recapturing his magic at age 28. He's best comparable to Mark Ingram. Now, Mark Ingram did have a productive 28-year-old season, unfortunately, for that parallel. But he looked dusty while doing it. So Kareem Hunt, the yards per carry collapsed to 3.8 last year. He did not look explosive any longer. And you look at the advanced metrics, the breakaway run rate was below average, 4.1%. The production premium, which looks at his production at any given down and distance, negative 9.0. So he had a negative production premium. Looking at his, per touch efficiency on any given down and distance compared to league average, he was below average, well below average. His yards created per touch, outside the top 30. He looked like a dust ball last year, and then the NFL teams that needed running backs started trying him out and saying, yeah, this guy is dust. We're not signing him. Now, maybe he was asking for too much money. Maybe he wanted more than teams were willing to spend. But he is good, and they were like, oh, man, I wish we could get Kareem Hunt, but we just can't quite afford his asking price. I don't believe that is what happened. I believe that they saw him and said, this guy has not been taking good care of his body. He's not in the shape we were hoping for, and we don't believe that he would upgrade our backfield. I think that's what happened. And Cody Carpentier came on and confirmed this in the chat. Remember, he said, you guys are drafting Kareem Hunt in the final rounds of these FFPC leagues. It's a wasted pick. He's not coming back. Teams have evaluated him. They've looked at him, and they've passed. So now suddenly, maybe Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette could certainly be an option. But see, the team is well run, right? It's a top 5 front office in the league that leverages analytics, and they saw, this Pierre Strong guy is explosive, and for some reason the Patriots brought in Ezekiel Elliott. Now they don't have the roster space to carry all their running backs. Let's make a low ball offer to an explosive satellite back plus back. Caught a lot of passes in college, had huge breakaway runs in the NFL last year, and let's bring him in instead. That's another guy I like. If you can't get Jerome Ford, if he's already rostered in deeper leagues, these FFPC leagues, Pierre Strong, dabble on him. In shallower leagues, you can put 2% on him. You can go up to 10, 20% of your FAAB budget on Pierre Strong. He is the next man up, and I don't believe that there's a Leonard Fournette or Kareem Hunt lurking. Fournette is to a degree, but because Kareem Hunt knows the system and he's a natural fit, they would have brought him back. It's over. So I'm not convinced that we're going to see Kareem Hunt. I'm not worried about it for that reason. I'm all in on Jerome Ford and trying to outbid my competitors on Pierre Strong. He's both the next man up, and he will mix in. He will mix in passing situations. He'll be a breather back for Ford. No running back gets a 99% opportunity share unless it's Christian McCaffrey or Zach Moss. Only Zach Moss can command all the touches and all the snaps. So we're not expecting that. Strong will mix in. He was a high-quality running back at South Dakota State. I don't know. I don't trust the Patriots have good internal scouting or external scouting. I don't believe the Patriots have any kind of... So for that reason, I'm more bullish on Pierre Strong than if a different team, if a team that we trust, like a team like Philadelphia, had traded Pierre Strong to the Cleveland Browns. I would have been a little more skeptical that, okay, there's something with Pierre Strong. Either doesn't want to play football, his passion's not there, or there's some missing piece of the skill set, whether it be vision or something else that we can't exactly measure, because the workout metrics say Pierre Strong is electric, and the production history says Pierre Strong is a quality player. So I like Pierre Strong a lot. I'm going to be stashing Pierre Strong. So it's one of those things where, yeah, we were right. You should have been holding your money back for Jerome Ford. You still might not get him. You're going to be going up against people that have 100% of their FAAB budget still there. You might get outbid by $1. It's possible, right? But Pierre Strong is going to be available, is going to be attainable if you want to put 5-10% down in deeper leagues or just a couple percent down in shallower leagues. Pierre Strong in his rookie year had over 1,000 rushing yards and had close to 1,700 rushing yards with a 7.0 yards per carry in college, which was special, and 2 consecutive seasons with 20 or more catches, including an 11% target share season in 2020. That was the COVID year, so he only played in 9 games, still 20 catches. That's impressive. The athleticism is good. I mean, he was number 5 in his class among running backs, 5 out of 63. His athleticism score on PlayerProfiler of 103.7. But if I'm ranking my pickups, yes, of course, it's Ford, 95%. I can't go to 100%. 100%. And you're not getting anybody for the rest of the season. You can't even put $1 on anyone for the rest of the season. I can't go there, but I can go to 95%. Craig Reynolds is my next priority. He's a clear 10%, even in shallower leagues. You're going up to 20% in deeper leagues on Craig Reynolds. Craig Reynolds is David Montgomery light. Craig Reynolds has an 80th percentile agility score. He has great lateral quickness. He is similar to David Montgomery in that way. He's just not quite David Montgomery. And they're not going to use him quite like David Montgomery, but after David Montgomery went down, they didn't turn the backfield over to Jahmyr Gibbs. Absolutely not. That's not the role they envision for Gibbs is a pure satellite back role where he's running a lot of snaps and routes from the backfield in motion, going into the slot, going out wide. They're not going to change all the plays they installed throughout the summer for Jahmyr Gibbs. No, they're going to one-for-one hot swap in Reynolds, and they're just going to call a lot more of the Gibbs plays in the next few weeks. But there's going to be a lot of Reynolds, too. This is a team that beat the Chiefs and then scored 31 points the following week. So I would rather not pick up players on bad teams. And it's not even clear that the Browns are good. They look bad. They might not be totally bad. They might not be horrific. But I am concerned about the Browns to the extent that that would be my one hesitation of going all in on Jerome Ford. But Jerome Ford is in such a perfect position, and we need him right now. He's the hero we need in so many ways. I mean, he himself had 1,300 yards in Cincinnati after transferring from Alabama. He had a 20-catch season. He, went nuclear yesterday, right? He was great and looked great. And it's his job. And he's going to be the man. And there's nothing not to like about Jerome Ford except that they're playing Tennessee. And unfortunately, Tennessee has the best front seven in the sport. I know that they don't give up the least amount of fantasy points to opposing running backs, but from what we've seen from running backs that face Tennessee is it's not pretty, but it is a home game, right? It's a home game, and given the opportunity share that he could command up to 80% opportunity share, especially if they don't sign anyone in the meantime, going to be starting Jerome Ford regardless, which means you pick him up and you go all in. And it's yet another career on the line, offense on the line, system on the line, everything on the line, because they invested so much, $200+ million in Deshaun Watson. If Deshaun Watson is average, this will be an albatross around the neck of this franchise for years to come. There's nothing you can do. You can't somehow massage away that contract. You can't do it. It's not possible. At home against the Titans, this is the fight like that. Okay, so week 2 was a road game, right? Week 1, we had the bad weather. It was raining and windy. And then week 2 was a night game, division rival on the road. Okay. Fine. Okay, now we have a home game Sunday, 1 o'clock against the Titans, one of the worst secondaries in the league. This is the no excuse week of the no excuse weeks for Deshaun Watson. This is it. This is the end. This is either the end or the beginning. Could be the beginning of the end. We'll see. But we're going to watch Jerome Ford be active in all phases and just be the godsend we need for our fantasy teams with all these injuries. I mean, my God. But I think Reynolds is also going to be a factor. He's going to be productive. I could pencil in 10+ fantasy points next week for Craig Reynolds. They're at home against the Falcons. Falcons defense has been relatively impressive, right? More impressive than expected, beating expectations. But look at the implied points, close to 25 implied points for the Lions at home against the Falcons. This is going to be a Craig Reynolds game. They're going to probably they're favored. They're going to be scoring a lot of points, and Reynolds is going to be a part of that. So it's again one of these common scenarios that unfolds where we really want Jerome Ford willing to go all the way. May not get him, or there's plenty of leagues where he's already been rostered, and so he's not even an option. He's not an option in my league, not an option in my league, not an option in my league. Okay, well then in that case, you're going after Craig Reynolds. Then you're dialing it up for Craig Reynolds. You're putting 20-25% down on Craig Reynolds. You're going after Pierre Strong. Roschon Johnson, right? In shallower leagues, Roschon Johnson still available. He will be the bell cow soon. The snap shares are starting to converge between Hubbard and Johnson. It's just a matter of time. My prediction is week 5. Week 5. Takes over the primary job by week 4 and starts to show bell cow traits, bell cow usage by week 5 or 6. That's my prediction for Roschon Johnson. I would predict the same for Chuba Hubbard, if not for Miles Sanders' contract. Miles Sanders signing the big bloated free agent contract, that one running back who did get a reasonably well-paid deal this offseason. It was one running back. It was Miles Sanders. That was it. That is going to give him the job security for many weeks, many more weeks than the guy that's the 6th rounder on a rookie contract, Khalil Herbert, is going to be afforded. But the difference between Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders is striking. The stats illustrate it. watching the games illustrated. Chuba Hubbard looks more explosive. They get more out of the Chuba Hubbard touches than the Miles Sanders touches. Miles Sanders is going nowhere. This is a team that is a quality run-blocking unit. And yet, Miles Sanders has looked terrible. And, again, signed a $25 million contract. For what? This is why you can't. I love running backs. You could see the violent collisions that Nick Chubb suffered. They didn't even want to pan to it during the game. They refused to even show it. I'm glad they didn't show it. I was watching it with my daughter. I was like, this is gross. I can't take this. We were considering, I was like, should we turn the station? Should we watch something else? Do you really want to watch this? I kept going, and she's like, no, we're watching this game. I was like, okay. Twist my arm. Oh, watch football. Chuba Hubbard will be the workhorse if Miles Sanders misses games. $25 million says that Miles Sanders is going to be the primary back for the foreseeable future, unfortunately. But I can't find a better pure handcuff that has some standalone value, even with just 10 touches, 5 touches even. The guy breaks off plays out of the screen game. He's dynamic, man. Chuba Hubbard, dynamic. 2,000-yard rusher in college with size. And he's a slick receiver out of the backfield. Just looking for quality running backs. Najee Harris clearly is outmatched by current NFL defenses in a way that Jaylen Warren's just not. Jaylen Warren is up for it. Jaylen Warren sees creases and can get there in ways that Najee Harris can't. But Jaylen Warren is rostered, right? He's rostered in a lot more leagues than Chuba Hubbard. And it's just interesting when you look back at my top 5. I had top 5 or even top 6 handcuff video on YouTube, and it was Roschon Johnson, Kenneth Gainwell, injured. It was Jerome Ford. It was Chuba Hubbard. It was Jaylen Warren. And it was Kendre Miller. And Kendre Miller is the other guy, right? The other guy. So, I mean, if I'm picking between Pierre Strong and Chuba Hubbard has a better track record, and he's, I think, more entrenched as the number 2 in similarly anemic offenses. I prefer Hubbard over Pierre Strong. So if I'm putting down my FAAB bids, I might put 3% on Hubbard, 2% on Pierre Strong in shallow leagues. In deeper leagues, Hubbard's no longer available. So that's why you have to go up to something like 10% on Pierre Strong, because he's the best option. It's like Pierre Strong and Craig Reynolds, where deeper leagues, Reynolds is going to go for like 25%, and Pierre Strong is going to go for something like 10% or more. Whereas in shallower leagues, Pierre Strong is not even going to be picked up. That's the difference. The difference between these deep, high-stakes leagues and traditional leagues with your friends, your colleagues, your family, they're worlds apart in terms of free agent bidding strategy. And the 6th running back that I talked about as my top handcuffs, and I remember there were complaints. What about Charbonnet? What about Charbonnet? Chuba Hubbard over Charbonnet? Who would you rather have? In the chat, everyone, right now. Who would you rather have? If you're in the car, if you're listening to the podcast, shout it out. Who would you rather have, Chuba Hubbard, or would you rather have Zach Charbonnet at this point? Somebody answer me. Answer me. Because that was all up on Reddit. Oh, the critics on Reddit. Oh, the buzzards there. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, this is such a bad list. Where's Charbonnet? Right? Or they wanted Tyler Algier, right? And again, Algier, The contingent value is strong with him. Very good contingent value. But I'm not betting against Bijan Robinson, right? And already in week 2, what happened to Algier's production? Right? Didn't take long. Didn't take long for Bijan to be Bijan. And it won't take long for Roschon to be Roschon. It won't take long for Chuba Hubbard to he's going to just have to chip away. He's just going to have to keep chipping away. That's what we're going to have to root for. And Kendre Miller, we have the hamstring injury for Jamal Williams. They had to turn to Tony Jones because Kendre Miller was inactive. You get another week of the Alvin Kamara suspension. We have to monitor Kendre Miller, but you have to stash him now. You have to because there might be just this one opening, this one window opening, this 1 week window opening where it's Jamal Williams misses the game with a hamstring injury, Alvin Kamara suspended. Magically, Kendre Miller is activated and he's the primary back and goes nuclear in week 3. And then it's going to be very difficult once they have the tape. Unfortunately, it's a road game against the Packers. So it's a difficult situation, right? Packers only have, game total 43, right? So Saints only implied like 20 points. It's not great. It's not a great situation on the road for Kendre Miller, but this is what we have. He is an explosive runner. He has soft hands. You wouldn't know it, but he does. That evaluate his receiving skills. They're better than the reception totals in college would indicate. It's possible. It's possible he's activated. I don't know. I don't know his status. I don't know where they're leaning, but I'm going to be following these Saints beat reporters closely, figuring out, hey, Kendre Miller gets activated. He's worlds better than Tony Jones. And there's a guy in a lot of leagues, he's going to be available for $1. Again, not high-stakes leagues. He's rostered and stashed already. But in non-high-stakes leagues, he's just going to be available. We don't even have to put a waiver claim on. Just grab him on Thursday. The practice reports will be interesting. And this is where we spend the majority of our time, because this is where you need to be focusing your attention on the waiver wire on the running game, the running backs with upside. That's what we care about, right? Didn't see a lot of upside this offseason in Zach Charbonnet. So didn't get listed in the top handcuffs, right? The top handcuffs were actually, some of them weren't even handcuffs. Turns out Kenneth Gainwell was just the starter. Others, like Jerome Ford, it turns out it's the guy everybody's thirsting for this week on the waiver wire. 24 hours. I was sulking for 24 hours. And now I'm looking up, and everyone's trying to grab Jerome Ford, Roschon Johnson, Chuba Hubbard, Pierre Strong, Kendre Miller, and my man Craig Reynolds. And if you do feel the need to invest in wide receivers on the waiver wire with your FAAB budget, put a waiver claim in on a receiver. Burn a waiver claim on a receiver. I wouldn't do it, but if you feel the need, please don't do it on Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds is a guy. He's fine. And certainly Amon-Ra St. Brown is not 100%, and he's benefiting from that. He's rolling. I get it. He's been really productive. But we know what Josh Reynolds is. He's in his late 20s. He's an established guy. And that's not where you want to spend your money. You also don't want to spend your money on miniaturized players. Tutu Atwell, Tank Dell. You want to put 3% on these guys? The miniaturized number 2 receivers on their teams. Tank Dell's the number 2 behind Nico Collins. Tutu Atwell is the number 2 behind the who shall not be named. And then soon he will be the number 2 behind Cooper Kupp. And then the who shall not be named, will move to the number 3. That's how that's going to go. That's how the target, or at least the route tree will be. That's how the route trees will be distributed in Los Angeles when Cooper Kupp returns. But in the meantime, and for the rest of the season, Tutu Atwell is going to get the usage. He was the snap leader among the wide receivers this past week. I like him. I like fast players. I like just like I like Calvin Austin. Like Calvin Austin looked atrocious, which was not helped by Kenneth Pickett Sr. So if I had to pick between these fringe these tiny, super teeny, tiny, little teeny, tiny, miniaturized mini players, I would go Tutu over Tank Dell, but they're the same guy. One guy just happens to have experience. One guy is a rookie with a rookie quarterback, and so that is the differentiator to me. That's why I would go Tutu Atwell, but I'm not spending more than, say, 2-3% on those guys. Not doing it. Not doing it. Won't do it. Can't do it. Josh Reynolds, same thing. 2-3%, maybe 4%. If I'm going to spend 5% of my budget, and that's really my maximum for wide receivers, I'm done. I'm so done. And I'm not falling for one guy breaking out all over the place, setting the rookie record for targets through 2 games is not going to get me to change a process that has been working for 5 straight years. But fortunately, we have 2 rookies that were second-round picks. One played even better than Puka Nacua at the Senior Bowl. And they don't have the same target competition that will be injected into their teams in the weeks ahead. Now, the problem is one of the guys I'm thinking about will have target competition injected, right? Christian Watson's going to be back. He has a hamstring injury just like Cooper Kupp. And because this assumption is that, Christian Watson's coming back, there isn't a zeal, a sense of urgency to go pick up Jayden Reed in these shallower leagues. Again, deeper leagues, Jayden Reed's rostered. Marvin Mims is rostered, right? So I get it. If you're in a deeper league, Tutu is what's available. Tank Dell's what's available. Josh Reynolds is what's available. So go ahead and, if you really need a receiver, go ahead and double that percentage. Whatever I said, 2, 3, 4, 5% even. Maybe go to 10% in the deepest leagues. But 10% in deep leagues is the maximum I'm spending up on a wide receiver, because you're going to regret not having those funds for running backs in the future. Because, spoiler alert, more receivers are going to come available and more running backs are going to get hurt. That's just what's going to happen. But this week we had Marvin Mims and Jayden Reed give the game away. They gave the game away. Jayden Reed, 2 touchdowns, gave the game away. Marvin Mims, over 100 yards, gave the game away. Jayden Reed's snaps and route participation will remain steady when Christian Watson comes back. Christian Watson's going to come back, and it's going to be Romeo Doubs who is relegated. Marvin Mims has earned more snaps and routes, and we'll see a snaps and routes spike as they go back and they break the film down this week and say, oh, wow, this guy's what we need. This is the guy. This injection of Marvin Mims is what the offense needs. It's what Russell Wilson needed. They will dial up Marvin Mims usage. I promise you that. That is going to happen. So these are the players that I'm willing to spend up on. Shallower leagues, 5%. Jayden Reed, Marvin Mims. While others are recommending Tank Dell, Tutu Atwell, Josh Reynolds. Reed and Mims are just better. They're just better. Reed's not going anywhere, and Marvin Mims is coming. And at tight end, it's actually comically bad, the tight end position. And when things are comically bad, I just say, be creative. Lean into it. Lean into what's bad. Lean into what's wacky. Just go Taysom Hill. Just be wacky. That's my advice. That's the final advice that I have for you. If you need a tight end, good luck. I mean, best of luck to you, sir. You're not. It's not going to be pretty, right? I mean, it's going to be. I mean, what? Oh. Taysom Hill. Why not?